welcome to winter in northern Colorado and to the Ledingham Ranch. We wanted to bring you guys along and talk about winter care for the critters. Winter is a time for snowflakes, for below zero temperatures, for coffee, and also to make sure that our animals aren't turning into ice sculptures out in the middle of the pasture. So we're experiencing an Arctic blast here, like most of the United States. It was about negative 10 degrees this morning when we did our morning chores. Warmed up to about 3, and now it's close to about 10 degrees or so. So as you can see, we got a little bit of snow on the ground, and we want to talk about how we set these animals up for success to get through the winter. The first thing I want to talk about is that cows are actually tougher than you think they are. They have a thick hide and they have a strong winter coat if they're good and healthy. That's going to help them retain that body heat. So one of the things I'm looking for when I'm checking on cows is that they actually have snow or frost on their backs. What that indicates to me is that actually their hide and their hair is creating an insulating layer, and they're not losing that body heat, melting that snow. So in the middle of a snowstorm or right after a snowstorm, if I look out across the pasture and I see some cows that don't have snow on their back, that tells me that something's going on, that they're not retaining their body heat very well, and that we need to check them out, or we need to put them get them into some shelter. So that brings me to the first point. The first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you got some good shelter for these cows. You know, as I said before, they're tough, but even the fluffiest cow, wind can be quite a determining factor for them. So you want to have something to block the wind. We have this run-in barn here that we've got set up for the cows, and we've got a corn stalk out for them to munch on. Or you can do a solid windbreak fence like this. You don't have to do it out of a fence and metal. You can do it out of hay bales. Or sometimes the cows, if they're out in the middle of a big pasture, they'll use a low-lying area like a dry creek bottom, and anything to get them out of the wind. Wind chill can pull their temperature down and pull that body heat down really quickly, so you want to keep that wind off of them. A 30-degree temperature with a 15-degree wind chill, that can make it feel like 19 degrees. So just because the thermometer says it's 30 out there, it might not actually be 30 if the wind's blowing. So we want to make sure that they've got good shelter. The next thing that you want to do to make sure that they're set up for success is good clean water. Now cows, like everybody else, they do not like frozen water. So you got a couple options here. You can either break ice, remove the ice, and give them fresh water every day, or you can put in a tank heater, but that requires electricity and they're very expensive. So, and most ranches don't have that luxury. So we choose to break ice and remove the ice and fill it up with fresh water every day. This also helps us keep an eye on how much water they're drinking. If the cow's not drinking, then they're probably not eating, and then they're not maintaining a homeostasis, and then they could be having problems. So we want to monitor how much water intake they're taking in every day. Now they won't drink near as much in the wintertime as they do other times of the year, but we still want to monitor what they're drinking and make sure that they've got good fresh water every day. All right, so the next building block that we want to pay attention to is we want to make sure that they've got good feed in front of them all the time. Now we feed free choice hay, especially in really cold days like this or cold spells during the winter. And so we just leave it up to the cows to eat as much as they need to. And they'll also use some of the waste hay to go ahead and lay down. They'll have a good dry and warm spot to lay down. Now you notice a lot of these cows and calves here are laying down. That's a really good sign. That means they're full and they're satisfied, and they're content. So we also put out corn stalk bales, so that way that gives them also another good carbohydrate source. And the more calories you're getting, the better off that they're going to be to generate some of that internal body heat. Now we had a calf born here 2 days ago, just before this winter storm, and as long as mama's doing okay, usually those calves do pretty good too. But mama needs to be healthy, mama needs to be producing milk. As long as that baby's getting good warm milk and snuggles up next to her, then she'll probably be just fine. So the last thing we want to check is we just want to do an overall condition of the cows themselves. We want to make sure that their coat is good and healthy. We want to make sure that they got plenty of fat thickness and they got plenty of condition overall. There's a scale that we use as ranchers to evaluate and to pay attention to the body condition of each of our animals, and it's called a body condition score, and it starts at a 1 and it goes all the way to a 9. A 1 is very, very poor shape, and a 9 on the opposite end of the spectrum is very fat. Now you don't want them on either extreme of that. You really want them in the middle of the scale. You want them at a 4, 5, or a 6. At this stage in the wintertime, Really would like to see them up around a 5 or so, and this cow's probably close to that. If they're up at a 6, that's not too big a deal. That's an okay thing too. So you got to remember, here in just a few months they're going to be giving birth, and they're going to be putting a lot of energy and effort into those calves. So you want that little extra condition on them so that they got some room to raise those calves and still support themselves as well. So this cow, she's overall, she's got a good body condition. She's our friendliest cow too, by the way. This is Freckles. She decided that she really likes humans and she really likes rubs. Not all cows are like this, but we have one that is. So there you have it. Keeping animals warm and fed well in the wintertime is not rocket science, but there are several things that you need to pay attention to, and you need to give a lot of planning thought to. Our goal is to raise great animals and great meat, and we raise these animals for people just like you. So if you're looking for a good source of quality meat, then come check us out at ledinghamlivestock.com. If you're interested in how the operation works or more about the operation, you can also follow us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. Until the next video, see you guys.